What are you doing with it?
Well, my plan is to set up a bigger board. That's part of my big board plans.
Is that why you have it mini size?
Yep, mini size for the big board.
That's really cool.
I like opposites.
Yep.
I'm gonna set it up on that. Well, on my small board I've got, it's just too big, even though it's mini.
I know it's too long, right?
Well, and it takes up too much space. It takes too much space up too.
But for real, what are you doing with it? Are you doing steel licks or what?
I'm gonna do some like swell licks with some delay and stuff,
Oh.
and some like ambient swell stuff.
That's really cool.
Gonna get some granular reverb.
I was gonna ask you.
No, I'm just gonna try to do some swell stuff with it. I'm gonna stick at the end of my drives,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna do some swells.
Is this the only mini volume pedal that there is?
No, DoD makes one. A bunch of people make them.
Okay.
But this is the only mini. No, not the only. This is the volume pedal that I like the most because it works as
It changes your volume.
Well, it changes. Yeah, if you put it like this, low volume. Like this, high volume.
Wow.
In between volumes.
That's crazy.
But no, seriously, what I like about it though is it's in and out. Now it's not buffered or anything, so you will get tone suck from it a little bit. But it also will work as an expression pedal through the aux cable or aux jack.
That's why you wanted it.
You have to go inside of it, because some pedals, it's like
a dip
the
switch.
Yeah, there's a dip switch basically on the inside, depending on which TRS connection you need. For like Strymon's one type, and then like Keeley might be another type, or I don't remember what brands or what. But you got to switch that depending on which type of expression pedal you need.
I need that for my Terraform.
The other side of it is, in the aux, you can use that as a tuner send. So if you connect a 1/4-inch cable to your tuner, whenever you put your volume down, your tuner's always running through there. But when you put your volume down, it saves you from your signal running through your tuner. Yeah, my thought is I would mess with it with the MD200 some, just for grins.
Yeah. For the rotary.
Yeah, for rotary, and you can set it up for each patch individually. So maybe it's speed for one, maybe it's rate with another.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but anyway.
You do it with your Halo.
Yeah, because I thought about doing it with my delay too, and doing it as a mix control.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get started on this thing. Hey guys, welcome to Tone Bros. My name's Casey.
And I'm Colin. We're going to get started with our current topic of the day, which has to do with the Mike Campbell Tele.
Mike Campbell Tele, the Red Dog.
So, is the switch on it called a Red Dog too?
I'm not sure, but the neck plate says Red Dog.
That's all that matters.
Well, it's not the only thing that matters is the neck plate, folks.
No, but I mean, I'm a huge Mike Campbell fan. For our viewers, you know that. I thought it was super awesome that he's doing a Tele like this.
Yep.
I just wish it was cheaper.
Yeah, of course. We want everything cheaper. But it's got a Bixby on it. It's got your standard Tele pickup in it. It's got 2 humbuckers in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so awesome.
It's unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to say that, like, when they started the whole Jack White thing, I was like, maybe Fender's going the right route. I think they are.
Yeah, and this is like a recreation of the one he was using before.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's got one foot in the Jack White Telecaster. What's he called his?
I don't know.
I forgot. I'll stick it up here. He's got a different name for it. It's not technically a Telecaster.
Right.
But
Triple Caster.
Triple Caster, that's it.
Yep.
This guitar's got 1 foot in that, and it's also got 1 foot in the recreation of a guitar. It kind of feels like it plays that middle ground.
Right. I think I would be more interested if this was his broadcaster.
I wouldn't be, because this is way more unique. Because Mike Campbell's broadcaster is just a broadcaster. I'm not being like, like weird about it, but it's
just broadcaster. Just made thousands of hits.
Yeah, it's true, but
or at least more than 10.
Yeah, more than me.
More than us. Yeah.
So I like the broadcaster idea, but it's kind of like overplayed in some ways. I mean, how many different signature broadcasters can you make that exactly replicates every scratch and nick and ding? I'm not a collector that really wants that. I want the guitar to function.
He has made custom shop versions of that broadcaster. Yes. So I guess why recreate the wheel,
Yeah, I really like this. It's nitro finish. I saw close-ups of one the other day and had checking and stuff on there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm all about this.
I love the fuzz circuit in there.
Yeah.
And did you know that if you get the custom shop version, I mean, it's super expensive, so I would just get production, but I know the custom shop version, the fuzz was made by Analog Man.
Really?
Yep. The
Holy
the fuzz
smokes.
circuit in there is made by Analog Man, so you know it's
Oh,
fantastic.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't make a bad product.
No. So that in itself is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had no idea.
At least the custom shop. I have no idea about the production.
I'm sure production's not.
I wouldn't think so.
No. How cool.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Analog Man does such small numbers anyway.
Right.
Everything's, like, built to order, basically. And, yeah, how awesome.
Yeah.
I had
It's
no
a pretty
idea.
cool guitar. $3,500. If it was even around 2,000, which I know it wouldn't be because the Brent Mason one's close to 3,000.
And the Jack White one's like $3,000.
Right. So maybe I just need to accept the fact that I'll never own a production shop signature again.
Well, you say that. You say that. But look at like your Eric Johnson signature, you know? That's where your prices are creeping up on all that type of stuff too. It's just, you know, we have it in our, because we've been guitar players for a long time at this point. So we have in our heads a certain price bracket for each category of guitar. You know, a overseas Chinese made or Indonesian made guitar falls into this price bracket. And then Mexican guitars will fall into this price bracket. Standard production American falls in this price bracket. Custom shop goes up from there. And we have not adjusted our mindset for 15 or 20 years.
I don't know about that because whenever you say more than $3,000,
yeah,
like $4,000, you can get a pretty good custom shop.
you can get a really nice brand new custom shop.
That's what I'm saying. And this is $3,500. This Mike Campbell Tele.
You know what?
So like, what's the difference in $500 at that point? You might as well get exactly your guitar.
Do you think
This should have been capped at $3,000, I think.
maybe it's because the sentimental value of Mike Campbell's guitar?
Oh, the collectors are going to go crazy.
Maybe it's that. That does kind of put it in a weird point, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Huh. I hadn't thought about it that way.
It's only $500 more, and you got a custom shop that's great.
Yeah, brand new. So you could probably find a used custom shop for less than that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool guitar. I love Mike Campbell. I love the fuzz circuit in it. If I had the means to make this work in my whole rig and I wouldn't care about the money, obviously I would want this guitar.
It's
but
super versatile too.
it really is.
It's got to be super versatile. And you know what? Here we are saying like, yeah, but it's not a custom shop. I'm not totally sure it's not custom shop quality.
Well,
Just because, how many custom shops have we played? You look at the back of the headstock, it says custom shop on it. You play it, and it's, no pun intended, it's a dog.
yeah, no, I get it. I will say that they put a nitro finish on this guitar, and it looks thinner than, like, you know, you would see your, was it American Vintage or American Original, whatever they call it now.
Whenever I saw those close-ups, you could see a little bit of lacquer checking already.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked, not quite, but it definitely looked like some of their, I guess they call it their Journeyman relic, which is their ultra-light relic.
Right.
And somewhere in between there and Wildwood does their relic ready.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of in between those two. It definitely was not NOS. It wasn't a heavy relic or anything like that.
It's not high gloss.
No, it is not high gloss. It looks awesome. I'm all about it. If you could get into one used for $2,500,
Worth it.
I think probably worth it. It's not going to happen for a while, and who knows how many they're going to make, and if the value is going to go way high.
Right.
We've seen that with some signatures, where the value on some of them goes sky high.
I think the fuzz circuit alone makes it really cool.
Yeah, you just need to put one on your Tele.
I kind of like how it is, though. I'll just switch on a pedal. It's fine.
You just need a second Tele, and that one has a fuzz in it.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
All right.
You want to go ahead and move to your main topic?
Sure. So, my main topic has to do with kind of a question that I don't think anybody can definitely answer.
Cool, let's answer it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about pickup height. Pickup height is really, I feel like, it might be more important than your pickups. Than what pickups you have in your guitar. Reason why I say that is you can have a completely lifeless guitar when you play it, change the pickup height, and you're like, oh, this is a great guitar. Like, you can, okay, lifeless is maybe not the right word.
Let's step back away from everything you just said, and let's try that again.
What I'm saying is you can have a guitar that, like, feels good in your hands,
Okay.
but the sound isn't quite there,
Okay.
and you're not happy entirely with it.
Yep.
And then you adjust the pickup height, and you're like, oh, this is phenomenal sounding.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Tone.
Okay.
Tone.
Yes, I'm with you. I think so. That begs a few questions, right? So it begs the question, what's the output on your pickups? So if you've got super high output pickups, probably don't need them really close to the strings. It also begs the question of your individual pole piece, what type of pickup it is too. Your individual pole pieces, if they can be adjusted like a humbucker, if you've adjusted those. We're talking about tilt.
Right.
All those things in there are huge factors. Tom Bukovac, our man, is always talked about how he likes his pickups lower for the most part. He said they sound more like a record.
Except P90s.
Except P90s. He thinks P90s need to be jacked way up, which I don't totally disagree. And I took a look the other day. It's funny you bring this up because I was kind of looking at pickup height the other day, and he was doing one of his bench videos where he's restringing his Jeff Sin Strat, I think is what it was. And I was looking at his Strat because we had just done some modifications on your Strat here recently.
Right.
And I was looking at the pickup height on your Strat, and I looked at the pickup height on that Jeff Sin Strat. Pickups are completely different. He's actually got 3 bridge pickups in there.
Right.
Which is a little different, a little unique.
It is weird.
I'd be curious to know what they measure at, or at least something comparable.
The output, yeah.
And kind of see what the output is on yours. Because the way he's got his set up, his pickup covers on his Strat are almost even, just barely peeking above the pick guard.
I think it's completely dependent on those pickups.
Well, and the setup of your strings, because if your strings are closer to the fretboard, obviously they're going to be closer to the pickups the higher your string height is. So, you can't judge it by the pickup or the pick guard.
Right.
You can't judge it by that.
No. I think, so I have an Eric Johnson Strat, if you haven't seen it. It's the rosewood board. It's pretty much all stock except for we put in a treble bleed.
Yep.
And then change some of the capacitors.
Yep.
However, my neck and my bridge pickup are probably like 1/2 centimeter up from the pick guard, and the middle pickup is almost equal with the pick guard. So it is quite a bit higher than Tom's.
Yep.
But I have staggered pole pieces. I've tilted almost every time you see a Strat with me, it's going to have the treble side raised and the bass lowered. I do like some thump, but I don't like it muddy, and I don't like it overpowering the treble. Like, you have a Strat for a reason in my book. Also, you got a tone knob for a reason. So, like, that's kind of why I do that. But I like, Dire Straits Sultan Swing. That's what I want out of a, second, selector switch.
Second position or fourth position, depending on your opinion. I don't totally understand which.
I will say, I don't use 2 and 4 very often. I'm mostly in 1 or 5.
Okay.
The only time I use the middle is if I'm getting my Hendrix on, or quackiness, because I'm quacky.
Right.
But what I'm trying to get at is that pickup height is totally dependent on the guitar. So even if it's Strat to Strat, the pickups are going to be different. The guitar itself is going to be different. You have to figure out the wood. I feel like really where it comes mostly into play with pickup height that's super important is when you go from single coil humbucker P90, because my humbuckers are pretty low.
Yeah.
My neck pickup in my SG, it is pretty much flush with the guitar. The bridge pickup is raised a little, but it's still pretty low in comparison to where my Tele and my Strat lie.
Yeah.
I don't have a P90 guitar, so I can't really vouch for that. But I feel like pickup height is one of those things, if you have not messed with it, it can totally change your feelings towards the guitar.
Yeah.
As long as it plays decent. It's changed your feelings on the tone of the guitar, I should say.
I think a lot of people immediately jump to switching pickups whenever maybe if they adjusted their pickup height, it would make them much happier.
Exactly.
Something else to consider too is so the pickup rings on some of these guitars. On these, this is a reissue, and on the reissues, the pickup rings are a lot taller. So the pickup is going to set closer to flat on that. Where whenever you've got some of these import guitars, the pickup ring is actually shallower. It's much shorter. It's almost half the size. So then your pickup's got to stick out a lot more. I think whenever they get shipped from the manufacturer, they've obviously got standard specs they go off of. And they measure from the pickup to the bottom of the string, generally speaking. And every manufacturer is going to have a little different setup with it. I think it's a good place to start by just playing with it where it's at, obviously. But start tweaking with moving it down. Start tweaking with moving it up, maybe even. That's something I've kind of messed with here recently with this Les Paul, and I need to do it some more. I brought these down slightly. They were not super high, but they were higher than I thought they needed to be. Whenever I would swap guitars, I'm not trying to make all my guitars equal volume or equal sound, nothing like that. However, when you swapped, you can immediately tell, like, ooh, this thing was hot.
Right.
And these aren't hot output pickups. So I definitely dropped some of this down some. My Duesenberg, those pickups were really hot knit too. I also brought that down some, especially the bridge. The neck, I think I kept pretty close to the same, that P90. So maybe that's some of that, like we talked about earlier, P90s need to be jacked up a little bit higher.
Right.
So I would take a look at that. Obviously, you can adjust all these pole pieces. I am not a person that really adjusts pole pieces a whole lot. Some people really get in the nitty gritty with that. I've heard of some people bringing up the G string slightly because they feel like the G string is maybe like a little bit lower in output for whatever reason. Especially on Les Pauls, I've heard that. I've never had that be an issue.
Right. Honestly, the reason I started messing with pickup height was my Tele. I had my bridge pickup so loud and my neck was so quiet.
Well, and it was very dark.
Completely. So I raised the neck pickup and I love that guitar. Especially the middle position. On a Tele, like that's where I live most of the time. So I think that's where I started with the pickup height journey. And then I slowly realized, like, I need to do this on all my guitars.
Yeah. And as I'm sitting here looking at these pickups, the pole pieces are raised kind of like the fretboard. Like it's pretty flat on both E's. And then as you move inward, it creeps up a little bit. So maybe there is something to that too. I would just say go play with it and use your ears. It's great to get measurements from somebody, but every piece of wood is going to be different. Every pickup wind is going to be slightly different. You're going to have to use your ears some, and I think we all hate that answer.
Be careful with single coils, because if you really jack them up, you can get choke out.
Yeah, you can get those weird wolf tones, and like it's just odd.
So just be careful. Don't raise your single coils too high. But other than that, do whatever the heck you want. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen to the point to where some people are like playing, and whenever they go to play, their string are almost hidden their pole pieces.
Right.
To me, that's obviously way too close. We can get in the whole debate. We need to get into it at some point. But people talk about like, oh, one pickup is better because then you don't have the pole pieces of the neck pickup pulling on it. So we'll talk about that another time. That's kind of interesting too. But anyway.
All right, we're going to move to gas or pass. Okay. So Casey, what is your first gas or pass topic?
So my gas or pass today is talking about the Xotic AC Booster V2.
Okay.
So the AC Booster was a really popular pedal. It came out in their first line of pedals, I would say early 2000s.
I was about to say, it's been a long time.
The V1, they came out with the RC, which is the white RC Booster. I've actually got one up there. They came out with the AC, which is, I think RC was supposed to be really clean. AC was supposed to be almost clean. And then there was a BB.
Blues Breaker.
Which I think was Blues Breaker. I don't know if that's ever been said exactly.
I don't think they can say that, right? Because the Marshall thing.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. So they've always implied it, but they've never really said it.
Right.
They put out...
BB preamp.
Yeah, preamp. That's right, not booster. So they put out a V2 of the RC recently, and it's got 2 channels on it. That's basically what they've done here with the AC. So you've got the AC... You've got your standard 4 controls, volume, gain, bass, treble, and then you've got a second foot switch on that tiny enclosure, which is pretty small. Not tiny, but small enclosure. And then on that second foot switch, it's a boost. And there is a knob in the center that's just got a boost control. What's your thoughts on this?
So I don't know what the boost is based on.
I don't know for sure what it is. I think it's supposed to be like kind of a clean boost. It doesn't have like the ZVEX super hard on. It doesn't have that, like crunch whenever you crackle, whenever you turn it on.
I wonder if it's based on their super clean pedal.
It probably is. And that super clean's got so many different like little dip switches and things they could change. Who knows exactly how that's voiced.
Right.
but it's probably based somewhere on that super clean, or they've got so many boost pedals.
I know.
And Xotic, I think, is one of those brands that's kind of slept on.
A lot of people forget about them.
Because they've got that SP compressor. They've got that SL drive.
Right.
They've got so many great pedals.
Mm-hmm. Of course, their EP booster.
Their EP booster was like a staple for years.
Mm-hmm.
So is this something you're interested in? Because the AC is always one that kind of, I think people too saw AC and immediately thought, oh, it's a Vox style pedal. When I hear it, I don't hear that.
It's more a two screamer.
It's a little more mid-focused for sure.
Right.
But I never got any like direct, oh, it sounds just like this. I never thought that they were trying to rip off Vox or rip off Tube Screamers.
I don't know. I guess I never was a big AC booster fan. I mean, I like the RC. The BB preamp to me was too mid-focused. Like it was, I don't know. It just didn't seem like a natural drive to me.
It's been a long time since we played one of those. I had one of those BB preamp pluses.
Yeah.
So it was the dual foot switch one. And I'd love to play that pedal again.
I think in the right amp.
Yeah.
And like the different, if you got a super clean amp or you got an amp that's already breaking in or breaking up, maybe it would be different. I never was inspired by that pedal that you had.
Yeah. I fought with it a lot, to be honest with you.
Right. And also they got tiny knobs on them.
Yeah,
and it's such a big pedal. You're like, why did they make it tiny knobs?
I was very confused. I don't know if it was a cost-saving thing or whatever, but the 3-band EQ, I think it was a bass, mid, treble, were real small little knobs.
But it's a huge pedal.
But it's like a standard, like a double barrel, JHS double barrel. It was kind of the size of that.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think I am interested in the AC version 2.
Okay.
I think it's a little too late. Like they should have had this idea maybe like 8 years ago. But I understand why people like it. I mean, it is a good sound. I'm not saying it's a bad sound. Mm-hmm. I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard because the RC is definitely something I go to regularly. It's on a lot of my gigging boards most of the time. I really like using that. I know Scott Henderson had an exotic pedal that came out here a while back, and there's been tons of people that's used them. And the AC is always one that's been in the back of my head thinking, I need to get my hands on that. Because the RC sometimes is cleaner than what I want, but the BB was definitely more than what I needed.
Right.
Maybe the AC is a sweet spot, but the RC just works so well stacked into things, I kind of have a hard time going with something else.
I think the AC is a little too more, like, if you're trying to get more than an RC, I don't think it's going to do it. Because the AC's kind of got its own tonal characteristic, too. Mm-hmm. Like, it is not as transparent as the RC.
But we've got a boost with it now. How much does that boost with it change? Like, does that change anything for you at all?
No. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing at all.
Wow.
I don't care.
Okay.
Like I said, too little, too late. If they had done this a long time ago, maybe I would. But I don't care.
It's a gas for me.
I like Xotic. I think they make great stuff. Especially their wah is fantastic.
Yeah.
I just don't care about this.
Okay. Well, I do. I care about it. And it's a gas for me. For you?
Pass. Hard pass.
All right. You go ahead and move into your gas or pass?
All right. So my gas or pass, I think this is the initial, like, do-it-all guitar. Like, I think this was, I mean, PRS has been in the game a long time. I'm not saying, that they were totally out of the game when this came out. But the Gibson Nighthawk.
Yep.
You got a humbucker in the bridge. You got a single coil in the middle position. And then you have that mini humbucker in the neck. This is like Ann Wilson. She used this thing all the time. Made it sound fantastic.
Okay.
Gibson Nighthawk, I'm going to say it, was the most versatile guitar of its time. Of its time. I'm not saying now.
Okay.
But, are you interested in this thing?
No.
Why not?
No, I don't want that thing.
It's got a little belly cut.
It's ugly. It's so ugly.
I don't know why.
It's so ugly.
I don't know why the bridge pickup is angled, because I feel like you could still have it normal. Like, standard, like a Les Paul. But then they angled it, and I'm kind of confused by that. But I still think, like, the neck pickup, like, this is truly what Duesenberg, like...
No, don't.
This is... Yes, Gibson Night, I'm going to call it, because it has a mini humbucker in the neck. This is kind of like the Duesenberg before the Duesenberg.
No, the Duesenberg has got...
I mean, semi-hollow stuff, I get that, but
Yeah, it's got spruce top, it's got a spruce back, it's got a P90 in the bridge, it's got an out-of-phase thing.
but really
it's
think
nothing
about
like
if you
it.
tilt this, you put a single coil here. I mean, that's P90. That's not a mini humbucker, but it's not too far off.
If you completely change everything about a Duesenberg, no.
That's more. You know what it is? That's between a Gretsch and a Nighthawk.
No.
Yep,
No.
I'm calling it.
Nighthawk is a complete pass.
Also, when you say I have a Gibson Nighthawk, how cool are you?
The Grand Order of Occidental Nighthawks.
Yeah,
Like you feel like a superhero. Like I'm just bringing my Nighthawk.
Who did this?
Nighthawks.
You know what? That's if you buy a Nighthawk, you need a T-shirt that says "I'm a Gibson Nighthawk owner."
Like they need their own Trans Am logo.
Warning. You need a warning.
No, Ann Wilson made it cool, man.
No.
I don't care what you say.
Ann Wilson's cool. She did not make the Nighthawk cool. She
Just
didn't.
agree to disagree.
Do you guys like a Gibson Nighthawk?
Do you think the Nighthawks attack them?
I think this is cool.
Yeah. What was that Firebird X?
That is not cool.
This falls in the same category as a Firebird X.
not
to me.
even close.
Yeah, it's the
not
same-
even close.
In my head, they both fall in the category of just ugly Gibson guitars that Gibson, they're always on the forefront of trying to push the limits. I can appreciate that. This, not good.
I think if you played one, have you played one?
No, and I
Bingo.
wouldn't be caught.
Yeah, because everyone comments on here, Gas or Pass. Oh, they don't play it, so they don't know how can they make a decision. Well, I'm telling you right now, I think the Nighthawk is a sleeper.
Yeah.
It's a sleeper. I think
They probably, because by the looks of them, they probably sell for $200 on Reverb.
$2,500 used if you get like an original.
Yeah, no thanks. Pass.
I think it's cool. I think I'd be interested in playing one.
There's guitars for everybody.
I think the Gibson Nighthawk. I mean, it makes you feel like an undercover agent. You know,
You just like
I
the
feel
name.
like I feel like 007 when I say I might have a Gibson Nighthawk one day.
Welcome, Batman, the Grand Order of Occidental Nighthawk.
Doesn't that sound like a 007 like slogan or like a movie title? The Nighthawk.
It does, but you just like the name.
No, but I think the guitar's cool.
Okay.
The guitar is cool,
Well, you go play that.
and
Play,
the amount of tones you can get out of that thing.
play that. Play your Firebird X, and then right after you play that, I want you to reach over and pick up your Reverse Flying V, and just have a good time.
That was a low blow. That was a low blow.
All right, let's go ahead and move into my main topic then. I want to talk to you guys about when the right time to buy an original of something is, a copy of something, or a boutique version of something.
Give me an example.
So, we are going to talk about, okay, this is the big one. The Klon.
Okay.
Are you going to buy the original Klon for $4 or $5 grand?
Nope.
Are you going to buy a copy of it, which is like the Warm Audio,
Okay.
or Behringer, that new Behringer Centaur pedal?
Okay. I mean, that is kind of blatant. Yeah.
Or are you going to buy the boutique copy of it, which is like the Mythos Mjolnir, or whatever version you like the idea of, something that's kind of hard to get a hold of, or something that's a little more expensive with their little tweak on it.
Would you say a Wampler Tumnus is boutique?
I would say Wampler Tumnus is probably boutique.
Okay.
So that kind of gets into a whole nother conversation, but I would say like their own little twist on something, right?
Okay.
Brian Wampler definitely put his own spin on the Klon.
Yeah.
But that's just one thing. You could say the same thing for Les Pauls. You could say the same thing for Strats.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to buy a 61 Stratocaster? Are you going to buy a vintage reissue? Or are you going to buy a Jeff Sin Strat, right? So when's the right time to buy one, or what's your kind of thoughts?
I like to think of myself as frugal,
Okay.
smart with my money.
Right.
Not saying I always am,
Right.
but I try to be. If I can afford the original and it's not outrageous, but also the original is truly a more inspiring circuit, guitar, whatever,
Yep.
amp, then I try to go for that. Now, if you're talking about a 61 Strat, this guy can't afford it.
Yeah, that's
If you're talking about a $4,000 actual Klon,
Mhm.
I'm out.
Right.
Now, if you're going from like this type of Marshall to, let's say, a Friedman,
Yep.
I would rather have this.
Yeah.
The Friedman is a little too like perfect sounding for me. Like it sounds like it mixed and ready to go in the studio.
Right.
But I like the inconsistencies and the harmonics of this.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I lie with that. Now, I think a Marshall Blues Breaker, I think I would rather have the original circuit than some copy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, when I hear the Blues Breaker and I hear a copy of it, I'm typically more inspired by the original.
Yeah.
And it's not crazy expensive.
Right.
Compared to a Klein. All right, so that's the original. If I can go with the original and like it makes sense in my head and price point, then I go with it. And it's more inspiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
A direct copy like Warm Audio or Behringer,
Yep.
man, it is hard to justify not paying, what, $70 for a Behringer pedal and it sounds almost identical to a Klein.
Right.
That is hard to not go that route.
Right.
But I feel gross doing it.
I think there's two versions of the original thing too, right? Or the copy, I'm sorry. So you've got the original thing. Let's talk about like Nobles.
Okay.
You got an original Nobles ODR1. Now they're selling in the ballpark of $1,000 to $1,500. You could almost call the copy of that is a standard Nobles ODR1.
Sure.
And if that's the case, that feels completely different to me than the Warm Audio version or the Behringer version.
I agree, because at least it's the same company and you're trying to represent the same name.
Yeah, you're buying, Electro Harmonics. Maybe you're not buying the original Deluxe Memory Man because now they're $1,000. You step on it one time and it breaks, and then you got to get fixed. And you step on it one time, it breaks.
You got
and
the Memory
fixed.
Toy or Memory Boy.
You get, the Electro Harmonics version of something.
Right.
Like that feels much different to me.
Yeah, I agree. So, when it comes to a copy, I feel gross, like, with Behringer. Because it is the enclosure is the same. It literally says Centaur on the box.
Yep.
But I am much happier paying $70 than $4,000.
Yeah.
That being said, I typically go the boutique route.
Okay.
So, I have a Wampler Tumnus, and it's just kind of like a little more of everything. It has more bass, it has more gain, has more volume, I feel like. So that's kind of the route I went. I'm not buying original Klein. That's right. And to be fair, like the Behringer pedal wasn't out when I bought this Tumnus.
I don't think you would have bought it anyway.
I don't think I would have either. I would have either bought the Tumnus or Rocket Archer.
Yeah. Especially after doing our Klein shootout.
Right, which you guys need to check out. So I feel like I would go the boutique route if the original is crazy expensive or if it is just as inspiring. But like I said, if I'm going for the Marshall sound, I want this. I don't necessarily want the Friedman. Friedman is like a souped up, it's like a hot rodded car.
Yeah.
I just want the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's where I lie with all of that. I think the copies, I don't know. It's really difficult for manufacturers to have validity to their name, especially when people are trying to copy the exact color scheme. They're trying to copy the exact circuit. I mean, I feel bad for manufacturers because it's not an easy game to play anymore.
No.
I think boutique is kind of the way to go. And when we say boutique, like, I'm not spending crazy amounts of money. Like,
I know what you're saying. You're not buying a historic makeover Les Paul that's worth $15,000.
And kind of going the guitar route, like, I would much rather buy a Gibson Les Paul than a Heritage Les Paul.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But that's just kind of where I am.
Yeah, I think I feel in the same boat as you do, kind of, with most of this stuff. I think it's great to get the original, and I want to get as close to the original as possible within reason. It's also a use case thing. If you're taking the stuff out and gigging it, well, I don't want to take, a Vox AC30 that's on the fritz and I'm having to work on all the time from 1961 with my Deluxe Memory Man that maybe when I step on it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. With my Nobles pedal that maybe if I step on it, it finally breaks and I have to get it rehoused and stuff. some of those, which the Nobles, if you get it rehoused, that's completely different. But
Right.
some of those things, it doesn't make sense to be out gigging the originals and doing that stuff. If you're a studio guy that you can take care of it and have somebody working on it all the time, and if it doesn't work, it's okay because you got another one you can just throw on here, that's a different thing too.
Especially for us local musicians.
Yeah,
it really doesn't add up.
I realized, and you realized too at about the same point, that so many of these guitar cliches are cliches for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
A Les Paul into a Marshall, cranked up, there is nothing like it. It's visceral, it's, punchy, it's all the adjectives you ever want to give guitar, rock guitar especially.
Mm-hmm.
It has all of them.
Yeah.
You plug a Telecaster into a Fender Deluxe and turn it up to 4, or a Stratocaster into it, or whatever. You start thinking about all these cliches, a Martin D28 or 18. These cliches are set up for a reason. So I love to get the most original version of that makes sense to me.
And I think the reason why we feel that way is because the records in our head are the tones that we're searching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
if we were going for a completely unique sound, we would probably veer off that path.
Absolutely.
So, like, the viewer might not feel the same way we do.
Yeah, and I totally understand. And there's guitar equipment that I own that is just, I call them play toys and like just fun practice things. And that is the stuff that falls in the realm of unique things that isn't more classic and more original. That falls into boutique stuff a lot of times and oddball things. However, for my daily application, it is really inspiring to be playing a guitar like my Les Paul and looking down and seeing, there's something in my head about seeing that Gibson headstock. When you play your SG and you see that Gibson headstock, or we play Telecasters and you see a Fender headstock on the other end. As much as I love some of this boutique stuff that's out there, and it does make sense sometimes, especially for guitars, it is really hard for me to change my route. I feel that way about amps a lot of times because there's something special about these amps. However, I've played a Tone King Imperial that's just a fantastic deluxe reverb kind of combo.
Right.
Unbelievable. So there's times for all of it, but I do think pedals a lot of times fall in that boutique category for me.
Pedals for sure.
Sometimes originals when you're talking like Phase 90s or whatever, pedals like that.
Boss DM2.
But then if you get into the old ones, you're talking high dollar. I mean, what's a Script Logo Phase 90 from the 70s cost now? It's not cheap.
I was about to say, to me, like, you have to go into practicality, what you're inspired by the most, and just honestly do pros and cons. A lot of companies nowadays are making spin-offs, and you can really find most of everything. There's so many pedals out there, especially.
Oh, yeah.
But like amps too. Everything. You know what I think's funny is when you go to like a new manufacturer and they're like, "This is Marshall-esque," or "This is Vox-like." It's like everybody's recreating the same stuff.
It's okay
to a point.
Yeah.
But like, you kind of get to where you're like, why don't I just get the real thing? Like, everyone's trying to do their own spin on it.
Unless they've got a unique twist that makes it something completely different.
Super user-friendly or something like that.
Yep.
But if you need an effects loop or you want to go direct out, like, I understand why people look at different options. I'm just saying, like, it's just funny how everyone compares it to the last thing.
So, go with the original when it makes sense financially and whenever it makes sense with like gigs or whatever you're going to use it for. Go with a copy if you have to financially, right?
Right. And there's nothing against that.
Oh, no, that's cool.
But we are able, because we play local gigs, to get more of the boutique.
And then
pedals.
Also too, if you put copies in the same category as like the new Waza DM2, like if that's a copy, like maybe that falls in that category.
It feels different.
It feels different. And then boutique, yeah, that's talking the Wampler Tumnus. That's talking the J Rocket Archer, and that's talking that type of stuff. And I think I look at that whenever I want the original, but the original is...
What about a Collins guitar? Is that boutique or a copy?
I think that's boutique.
Okay.
They kind of have their own spin on some of that stuff, but then they've got some models that are almost copies.
Right.
They're all great guitars.
I love Collins. I'm not digging on them.
Great guitars, but I've played a handful of them and I've really liked them, and I've looked down at them and just thought, I can't pull the trigger.
You know what's also something that we didn't think about with this whole thing is that consistency. Because we've talked about 335s are kind of like fish in a barrel. You don't know what you're, well, not fish in a barrel.
No.
It's like trying to, fish out in the sea. Like
you go.
you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But with Gibson 335s, but I will say Collings, Heritage, they do make great representations. So for consistency purposes, I do understand why they go that
A
route.
smaller batch definitely makes a lot of sense because they can find that, K-line guitars are that way whenever you're looking at Fender stuff.
K-line is
Every
fantastic.
K-line I've ever played has been super consistent.
Phenomenal.
And great guitars.
And to me, those don't feel like copies whatsoever.
It kind of feels like a little twist to some degree, even though it's a Strat or Tele style. There's something about those guitars.
They have a mojo.
They do. Anyway, that's kind of our thoughts. What's you guys' thoughts? Let us know down below. See you guys next week.
See ya.